We now have the NFT Cinimatic universe. Come on out, guys. We've got Zach, Marisa, John, and Tony. There we go. Come on out, my friend. There you go. It should be working.
Man, they use my quirky.
So.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Test that mic, my friend.
Hello.
Testing. Marisa?
Testing.
There you are, my friend. Okay. All right. Take her away, everybody. Thank you. You guys have, as you said, a few extra minutes because our last person who came in didn't make it. By the way, may I say something about that? Can you believe that there was somebody who was invited here on stage and they didn't show up? Now, somebody can get sick or somebody can miss a plane, but you know what? I would be like scratching and crawling to get up here. So what a privilege. You guys hit it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you everybody for making it out this morning. I know there's a lot of late night shenanigans going on, so everybody that's here, thank you for being here. My name is John Kraski. I am Director of Strategic Partnerships at LandVault. Previous to that, I was Director of Strategic Partnerships at NFT Genius, which is a Mark Cuban, Ashton Kutcher venture-backed NFT technology platform. I also host a podcast called NFT Heat, where we interview top thought leaders in the NFT and Web3 space. And I also co-founded something called NFT Thought Leaders, which has just been rebranded to Good Morning Web3 Live. And we host in real life events around the world. We just hosted a breakfast here in New York. We just did one in Amsterdam last week from Mets Amsterdam. And we're gonna be hosting a bunch of other in real life events around the world, Dubai, Tel Aviv, Paris, Los Angeles, a bunch of other cities later this year, so definitely check that out. I'm just super honored to be here. I'm with 3 amazingly talented people in the Web3 NFT space. We'll just go around and make a few quick intros. I guess we'll first start with Zach.
Yeah, hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Zach Lona. I'm co-founder of a 10K PFP project called Hidden Ones, and the impetus of that is that it's based on the first movie released as an NFT, technically as a one-of-one, last year called He Who Lives in Hidden Lakes, a completely independent production. So it's the first NFT cinematic universe. I'm also VP of product at Greenlit, and I work very closely with Ian Grant from the previous panel.
I go next?
Yeah.
Man, we had our party last night, so you guys will hear it in my voice.
What was the party?
Hollywood 3.0. Yeah, so I apologize in advance for my voice because I yelled for about 4 hours last night. But yes, I'm Tony Mugavero. I'm co-founder and CEO of RAD, Web3 streaming platform. I would consider us kind of OG metaverse builders. We actually started out in virtual and augmented reality in like 2014, working with all the major movie studios and broadcasters like Disney, Fox, NBCU, etc. Formed great relationships with them and really tried to help them understand, this intersection of content and technology. As we saw VR take its time, I think we saw an opportunity with content on the blockchain in like 2017, 2018. Built a decentralized content platform called Aura and brought that back to the studios, and they were excited about it, but still didn't even have a regular streaming strategy together yet. So it was just probably a little bit ahead of the curve, and thankfully, if you can survive long enough, eventually the world catches up, and I think we're finding ourselves in that place now, but long-term believers in the tech and the space. I've been in Bitcoin since 2012 and Ethereum since 2017, so super excited about what's going to happen at the intersection of film, TV, video, creators, Web3. That's me.
Thanks, Tony. My name is Marisa Sechrest. I have a background as an entertainment lawyer. I am taking my lawyer hat off for this panel, though, and also a producer. My most recent show is Mean Girls Musical on Broadway, which I co-produced, which we're turning into a movie musical. I'm also head of strategy for an NFT agency called Defend, where we're working on a variety of projects from NFTs for hit Broadway shows to NFTs for one of the biggest musicians in India, which should drop in the next couple of months. I also do some strategy consulting for Ridley Scott's company, Scott-Free Productions, in this space, and they will actually be doing the first feature-length film on Ethereum based on Camilla Russo's book, The Infinite Machine. So it's a really exciting time to be in this space, and I'm really working with Web 2 companies to help them bridge into the Web 3 space. We've seen a very different approach in film between the independent movie companies and the major motion picture studios. I think the major motion picture studios are looking at it initially mostly as a marketing and advertising and a fan engagement fandom tool. For example, Paramount Pictures recently did NFTs. You would get a different generative collection of a helmet if you were first for their exclusive premiere for Tom Cruise's Top Gun Maverick movie. So they're seeing it as a way to really market and advertise their movies and also engage with consumers and fans in a deeper level. With the advent of streaming and the decline of sales of DVDs, you don't have the backstage, what happens, or a special edition things, and NFTs can offer collectible things for participants that let them engage in a deeper way with their content. So this panel obviously is talking a little bit more about tokenization in the film industry with streaming and revenues. And one of the big things that is a challenge in this space, but also an exciting thing, is intellectual property and how rights are controlled and how ownership happens on the blockchain. And the decentralization, the ability for fans to participate in deeper levels can also mean that they share in royalties, because in your smart contracts, you can have some commercial use rights associated with your non-fungible tokens, and those can have value. So what we've seen is the bottom-up franchises like Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, where the community itself is able to create derivative works and create value from the intellectual property that they own and control on the blockchain. So it's really interesting. It's sort of like the opposite of Disney, sort of the top-down model where, the studio or one central person or company owns as a work for hire the intellectual property and is able to control it. So I think we're going to see a lot of interesting creative collaborations. You may be familiar with Jenkins of Valet and what Bored Ape Yacht Club is doing in the fan engagement. So it's everything from being able to vote on character names to scenes to kind of direct the creative content and create derivative work. So that's a really interesting concept, and I'd love to ask Tony about intellectual property and rights and how that plays in with Rad TV and what they're doing in the streaming space.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. I mean, we've talked to a lot of creators, a lot of the new studios that are coming up, and bigger studios as well. And it's funny to see them have kind of this mindset of they're going to drop an NFT project, they're going to give the ownership and rights of the characters to the community. There's going to be, governance and royalties involved and all of these things, and they sell this dream and they make a couple $1 million on the drop, and then I'm like, what next? And they're like, well, we're going to get it on Netflix. And I'm like, Netflix is going to take all the rights from everybody. What are you talking about? You're going to get it on Netflix. So, there's this disconnect between what you're giving the people and what you're selling them in terms of the dream, and then how it actually is getting distributed. And, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but, if you create a project that has perfect utility, it's 100% perfect utility, nobody's going to sell the NFT. So all of these projects are like, oh, we're going to get rich on the royalties on the resales, but we're also going to provide all this utility. Those two things are at odds with each other. If you're providing perfect utility, nobody's selling your NFTs, which means you're not making any royalties. So how are you as the content creator going to make money in the space? You're going to make a film and put it out, and then what? Like, how are you going to make money? And so we've had to think about how to help creators who want to stream their content in a way that means that they don't have to rely on those royalties and resales, and they don't have to just fund their operations based on the $2 million drop that they did, because that's not going to cut it. BoJack Horseman costs $1 million an episode to make. Like, you think you're gonna get on Netflix with your $2 million project? Like, and Netflix doesn't need you anyway. They have their own studios. So, it's like, I think everybody has to think about distribution of the content in a little bit of a different way. And like, we've had to think, like, how can we provide those tools to the creators? And so, while we don't take rights, we're not trying to license the content and take all the rights away from everybody. Simultaneously, everybody's like, well, we'll just have 2,500 holders. You got a 10,000 piece collection, you get 2,500 holders, because some people buy multiple. Then you're going to gate access to your video with 2,500 people. Like, that's your audience now? 2,500 people? That's not, like, you need 100 million people to see your content, right? So we have approached it in a way that it's like twofold. You can do things with NFT holders that open up a window opportunity to say, you're the super fan, you get access to things before anybody else, you get access to the Discord, you get to the IRL events, you get the governance opportunities to help direct the story, whatever. But there's a broader audience out there that's not gonna pay $1,500 for your NFT to watch a cartoon. It's never gonna happen. Like, I'll do that, but like that, no general consumer is not gonna do that. So we opened up a subscription that gives people, regular people, normies, the opportunity to essentially view that content, because that helps the revenue streams for these projects in a real way, where we're not taking the rights, but we're providing additional revenue opportunities. So the platform itself can handle NFT drops and manage the community and the sales and the resales, and we're putting video players on the same page as the NFT collection, so you can, and even like we made an IMDb type thing where you can see the deadhead that's in that episode right there and like click make an offer on it. Like trying to think about things about how to build the community around the video and then extend that to a broader audience to increase the income opportunities for these companies. So anyway, it's like hard for the big streaming platforms to think about things that way. If you go to Netflix and talk to them about those things, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, we're not doing any of that, and we won't do any of that. Thanks for all your rights. So anyway, that's kind of how we're thinking about it, and just trying to like think what's next. Everybody right now with the projects is like taking a bunch of ETH, realize, oh shit, this is harder than we thought, liquidate all the ETH, crash the whole market. Here we are. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Maybe Zach has some more thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, like from the perspective of a content creator and someone in the space who is coming into it with completed films, a feature film, short films, and then building a collection on top of that. To your point, I mean, if we made the content exclusive to token holders, we're then not monetizing the films themselves, we're monetizing the NFT sales. Why not do both? So our approach with Hidden Ones is, to your point, exclusive token-gated content, deleted scenes, short films that are only for holders, but then still remaining on, for now, the Web2 platforms, Amazon Prime, Tubi, things like this, where we can still monetize that and hopefully build in incentives to the NFT ownership, where you get some benefit if you go and shill your friends the paid links, who aren't necessarily people who are going to be owning NFTs anytime soon.
And just to get back to like decentralization, the community building, I agree with Tony's point. Like it's a delicate balance between the utility and how broad your community is. But I think there can be different levels and different tiers of NFTs where you can still have digital rights, but you can have different classes and also different collections. I think Fluff World is a good example of having dropped the 3D avatar bunnies and then building on that with burrows and thingies and different collections on top of it. So you're really creating a world and building a community. So if you have a successful NFT drop that has so much utility that people aren't selling on a secondary marketplace, I think there's still a lot of opportunity to grow that community and think about derivative works and how you can broaden that, and the ability to have a service like Rad TV where you can distribute it without selling your rights is just, into the previous panel, the decentralization of ownership and of participation. When your fans have an NFT and feel like they hold something of value, that as your community and your ecosystem grows, they reap the benefits as a token holder, you have then created huge ambassadors for your brand. So it's deeper than just a marketing and advertising. It's a really, you have a community, and we've seen that with these bottom-up ecosystems like Bored Ape, and it's really, I think, going to take off in the next couple of years as we see a rebuild of the market and this, crypto bear market, and think about how the entertainment companies and the major studios are coming into the space. And can you talk a little bit about your franchise and sort of how you are thinking about longevity in this space, Zach, like 2 to 5 years from now, like how you see this ecosystem changing and what you think is some of the bigger growth potentials?
Yeah, I think it goes back to decentralized IP, like you said. Like I said, I'm also VP of product at Greenlit, which is a decentralized rights management tool, which will be launching soon. And Hidden Ones is the guinea pig for that. So essentially what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to stake your Hidden One for unlimited rights to not only your NFT, like you would with your Bored Ape owner, but also the storylines within the films, the characters, the music, the brand itself. So if you're a Bored Ape holder, you can't monetize the Bored Ape Yacht Club brand, which seems counterintuitive to me. Much respect to them. But I think to the point of longevity, it's giving the tools to the community and to the NFT holders to, sort of be evangelists and be creators for the IP itself.
Love it, love it. So Tony, I have a question for you. You're talking to all the different studios. I mean, where are we at right now in the adoption cycle for NFTs with the big studios, the Disneys, the Paramounts, the Sonys?
Yeah, I mean, we saw the same thing in VR. Everybody's playing around really from a marketing perspective. You'll see Space Jam and Ghostbusters and like all that kind of stuff. And it's really coming out of like the marketing department for the most part. And even internally at some of these organizations, they're struggling to see like who even owns the wallet. Like if we have a conversation with Sony Pictures and they want to market Ghostbusters, and then all right, so does Pictures own the wallet, or is it the finance department that owns the wallet, or is it Sony corporate that owns the wallet, or like is it multi-sig? Do they know how to set that up yet? Those are the types of conversations that they're having, and it's almost like you have these little like rogue innovation groups inside of all the different business units, and they're approaching it in a different way. And then they have these task force meetings. I'm sure a few of you have been in some of them, but they'll have giant calls with 30 people in the room, and it's like the head of innovation at MTV, the head of innovation at BET, the head of innovation at Paramount. Like they'll be all in the room having a conversation about how are they going to solve this? Who owns the wallet? Like those are the types of conversations that are actually happening. And I think they have a long. They're not even in the IP conversation yet. That's not even a thing. Nobody in the community is going to own that IP. So, I think they have, it's great that we're seeing that adoption. I mean, when we were doing things in like VR with Fox, they did Alien VR, and it was like a $3 million, 2-minute long VR experience for marketing for Alien the film. And then they were like, okay, that was a cool experience, we're out, And so I think this is a broader opportunity because you don't have to create all new content. You can leverage back catalogs. You can use it for everything going forward. It's essentially, using smart contracts as a community building tool, a commerce model. Taking some of the back office, even like if you can put all the legal, keep the legal hat on for a second, like. Anybody who's had to deal with hundreds of content contracts from a bunch of different companies with different windows and different royalty splits and different clauses in there that they all have boilerplate stuff, but all the different things. You need a legal management back end to just manage the agreements and like when they expire. And we still have content on the platform from Discovery Channel. I hope nobody's in the room, or maybe I hope they are. Come get me over here. We still have content on the platform, and the group disbanded internally. Like I can't even get in touch with them, and so but we still have their content, and it's technically expired. and if this was all managed by smart contracts and all the royalties were handled in there and it was automatically paying out to different people, like as it just automatically immediately, and we don't have to employ those people internally and outside legal counsel and accountants to keep track of all of that, that's a huge win. And so we're trying to teach that to the bigger studios, and they're still trying to wrap their heads around that. They're like, wait a second, we can get rid of 100 people inside of our organization managing legal and accounting. They're still not wrapping their heads around that yet. So it's going to be a ground up kind of, new studios being born in this space will probably catch up to the studios by the time they're ready.
And I think that's actually something that's going to draw them into the space and get more excited. I went to law school with Ridley Scott's CEO, and one of the first conversations we had is, wow, we can really help with the efficacy of contracts and streamline it, and also the transparency and authenticity of the blockchain to be able to see the royalty accounting. There's a famous case in our book called Net Profit Case about how it's so hard to make sure you actually get paid out in movies. So I think it's going to also help, with the validity, with that transparency on the blockchain. So when the major motion picture studios really look at what you can do with this technology beyond just engaging fans and marketing and advertising, and they see the potential to really transform internally their structures, I think that's going to get them really excited about being in this space. And certainly some of the smaller, more independent studios are going to be more nimble and more willing to take risks. I think it's the legal, not sure about the regulatory regime and what is deemed a securities offering when you talk about tokenization on the blockchain for back-end participation for NFT holders. That until there's more clarity in that space, I think we're going to see a lot of reticence from some of the major motion picture studios. But there are also ways to structure it so that you can have sort of a participation by holding commercial use rights. So you don't necessarily have a participation in the profits of a film, but you could license your NFT to be in derivative works or to be in content. And I think that's an exciting way. And like Tony said, all the different things that can be held in an NFT, being able to vote on characters, maybe being able to have the right to name a character, or even a walk-on role. There's so much possibility, for engagement. But I think that we'll see a lot more adoption over the next couple of years among, the major motion picture studios and big Web 2 companies in this space.
Love it, love it, love it. Zach, what do you think the biggest challenges and opportunities right now are with NFTs in Hollywood?
Man, where to start? So many challenges and so many opportunities. I think for us, at every step of the process in thinking, from when we first got into the space in March of 21, we've made great progress in the, releasing new models for NFTs and NFT collections. But at every turn, our conversation has always come back to, okay, but how do we market it? We still have to make people aware that this project exists. And for people who are strictly content creators, not necessarily a skill set we're very, acquainted with, let's say. So ideally, the NFT allows the community to be that for you, right? But the getting 0 to 1, I think, is a big challenge for anyone. I mean, there are comparable projects in what we're calling the Film 3 space, a little niche of Twitter that you may have heard of. Comparable projects have, especially in these market conditions, have had the exact same issue where it's so early. Not only for Web3, we say it's a huge cliche, but for film especially, it's like not even a blip on the radar of, studios, influencers. There's a long way to go. But there also is opportunity in that, because when the next cycle comes, the people who are building right now have, the leading leverage there.
Yeah. This is a question for you, Tony, and then maybe we'll take an audience question or two if there's anybody that wants to ask a question. I'm not sure. But so my podcast, NFT Heat, is now on Alter TV, and they have a watch to earn model. And I actually don't fully understand it. Are you familiar with this, and what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, so, I mean, watch to earn, is a nice thing to say out loud, but I mean, really, like, where's the money coming from? So, you know, it's like tracing that back to if you're sitting in front of the screen and you're watching something and you're getting paid to do that and you're not paying into it, who's giving you the money? And it's not the company. Okay. You should be paying the company. So, you know, I think that there's a lot of projects and companies that are trying new models, and they should try those new models. But they will get a huge influx early on because everybody in the space is a degen, and they're just going to take any opportunity to get yield that they possibly can. And then you see it fall off a cliff. So what are you giving out tokens on a regular basis, and people are earning and they're liquidating those tokens? If you're providing no value to your tokens, that's putting constant downward pressure on the tokens. So then you have another problem of how do you push the value of the tokens back up? Like, are you buying them back as the company and burning them? Like, what do you do? Like, that's also on the company. That's not a sustainable model for a business. It's interesting and it will get people to show up to your platform, but it's going to be tough. And we saw the same thing with Looks Rare. You know, like, they did an amazing job with their launch, and you get like 1,000% yield. I did it. I went and claimed my free looks. I put NFTs on there. I staked. I started earning. I pulled it out, liquidated when everybody else was liquidating, made some money. I'm out. Like, where are they at now? You know, like, it's a bunch of wash trading. They got to prop the token price up. They're constantly giving out more tokens, which is downward pressure. Like, those are all things that, like, sound good initially, and you all can benefit from it. You get in there early and make some money, sell it, get it, like, take your chips off the table. It's going to be hard from a business perspective for them to make money. So it's more of a marketing growth hack, I feel like, probably, than it is a business model.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It sounded cool, but I was like, how do you make money on this? And I mean, at the end of the day, that's what the studios care about, right? Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think is the thing that's missing, both of you? Like, what's missing right now to get the studios kind of over the line to really dive in and really get involved? It seems like they're all kind of passively kind of look at the space, but nobody's really doing anything. You know, there's a few like projects that are happening, like more like it's just more of a marketing expense. But what is that thing that's missing?
I was going to say I don't care about the studios. I'm a completely independent filmmaker, and they could come in when they come in, and we'll be hopefully miles ahead of them by the time they do. But
well, they'll probably want to acquire you, I assume, right?
That's in the game plan. We're not there yet, but playing both angles.
I think when they start to lose some of the great producers and directors, when they're thinking about self-financing their projects or going straight through different distribution channels, that's when we're going to see a real focus. If there's attrition of great talent and there's a way to get your product out there, finance it and distribute it that doesn't involve a major motion picture studio, I think that's when they're going to really pay a significant they already are paying attention to this space, but that, I think, will expedite a move to Web3.
Love it, love it. Well, we have 22 seconds, so unless somebody has a super quick question, I think we're winding this down. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Abhishek from India. We're building Omniflix, and we work with studios, record labels, and independent creators. So as builders, my question is, how far off is digital rights enforcement? We're talking about digital rights, but how far off is digital rights enforcement? Maybe with the legal hat, maybe Zach, with your DDRM experience and Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the challenges is that copyright and intellectual property rights are enforced on a territory-by-territory basis. So there's not one global regulatory scheme, and crypto and NFTs are 365, 24/7. And they penetrate the global marketplace. So I think there needs to be some sort of cohesive global regulatory framework so that there's some just knowing how you enter the space and how digital rights are enforced. I think that may be a little slow to come. It may happen on a territory-by-territory basis, but I would love to see some clarity on a global scale. It's actually something that I've been concerned about with intellectual property ownership and copyright in general. just dealing with shows and producing shows and film and in Broadway. It's very challenging sometimes when you've got underlying rights and you're trying to parse them together globally. So I think that would, a global regulatory scheme would really expedite people coming into this space, having some more clarity.
Thank you, everybody. That was fantastic. We really appreciate it. A round of applause. Here we go. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. You can come on back here. Excellent.